Welcome everyone. This is the Race Analytics and Race Insights webinar. My name is Andrew Burke and I'm a developer at RunSignUp, and I have a focus on digital marketing and analytics. Today we'll be discussing Race Insights. If you have any questions during the webinar, please post them in the chat and I'll be happy to circle back to them after the demonstration, make sure I've addressed everyone's questions. So first, what is Race Insights? Race Insights is RunSignUp's proprietary web tracking system. It tracks where every page view, registration, and transaction associated with your race originated. And it helps combine web analytics with participant demographics and information to provide actionable, data-driven insights into your marketing campaigns. So what does this mean and why is it really important? So there's been a couple versions of this quote. I'm sure some people have seen this before, but it's basically, they all have the same sentiment. Half of the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. This was the case when doing marketing for a long time. You would run some kind of a campaign, whether it's a billboard or a radio spot, something, and you would see an increase in registrations the next week, and you would kind of do some sort of anecdotal, well, I ran this promotion and I had an increase in registrations next week, so it was probably that promotion I ran that gave you that spike. It was usually anecdotal evidence, and you weren't able to always tie directly, which campaigns and which marketing were the most successful and you were actually getting your money's worth. So that used to be the way that things were. With modern technology and the internet, being able to do web tracking, and with a system like Race Insights, this no longer has to be the case. You don't have to fall into this trap of not knowing what advertising dollars are actually working, because with a system like Race Insights, you can track and you can understand that this particular marketing campaign was successful, and you can actually understand exactly how many registrations were driven by each one of your different marketing campaigns, which allows you to allocate your time and your advertising dollars into the most successful campaigns. So this is why it's a really important topic. It can help you, your marketing be significantly more effective, and Race Insights is RunSignUp's way of making this data available to you easily, presenting it to you right on your race's dashboard, and giving you those insights that you need to make your marketing decisions. Some of you probably have noticed when you go to your race dashboard, you have a nice, fancy, shiny new graph. So this graph is the screenshot of page views, registration data, and transactions. By default, when you log in, it shows the most recent 7 days, but you can adjust this report to show 2 weeks, a month, a year, or you can enter in your own custom date range, and you'll be able to search for that. Underneath this graph on your dashboard, you're going to see a breakdown of different referral sources. So this is essentially the breakdown of the information shown in the graph, giving you the total numbers of page views, registrations, and transaction dollars that are tied to each of these different referral sources. So there's some frequently asked questions about the different referral sources. The first one is, what is direct traffic? You'll see on the previous slide, direct is the second one down listed, and it usually generates a decent amount of volume on this dashboard. So direct traffic represents web traffic that cannot be tied to a specific source. This means somebody may have typed the URL into the browser bar directly or used a bookmark. So they didn't really come from anywhere, they sort of came directly to your website. This can also include some other things, such as if somebody came from a QR code scan, or if there was an email that was sent out that didn't have a tagged link in it. If you're not able to determine what that referral source was, it falls into that direct traffic bucket. The second area that you will run into, you'll see on this report that can be a little bit confusing, is emails from other races. Emails from other races can show up in a couple of different ways. First, if you say you're a race director and you operate a couple of races, and your first race, race A, has just finished, and you send out a post-race follow-up email, and you promote your other races in that email with links to races B and C. Somebody follows a link and registers for that race. So in that case, the email actually came from a different race, not the race that the person winds up registering for. So in that case, we have to attribute it back to the original race, and it shows up as an email from another race. This can occur in a couple of other little ways too. If somebody follows a link from an email, comes to a race, and then navigates through RunSignup's race search, or somehow finds your race on RunSignup, it can show up that way. And also, if you send out an email through a club or through a partner account, since it's not the race itself, it will show up in that email from other races bucket. So a couple of different ways. It's essentially an email that has been sent through the RunSignup system that we have tagged, so we're able to track it, but the email didn't originate from your race specifically. The last thing I'll mention on the referral FAQs here is that RaceInsights uses what's called a last touch for attribution. There's a couple of different kinds. It's basically a way of saying when there's multiple sources out there that were responsible for a registration. For example, somebody does a Google search, they find your race, then there's a Facebook ad, and they click on another link, and then you send them an email later, and then finally on that third touch, when it's the email registration, they get the email, they actually go through and complete the registration. So in a last touch attribution like RaceInsights is using, we're going to give credit to the email that had been sent out because that's the last thing that the person had touched prior to completing the registration. There's a number of other graphs besides that sort of web overview on this dashboard, and you can toggle between the different graphs by using the option in the top left. Right now where it says transactions, it defaults to overview. You can switch to registrations. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to walk you through a number of these reports, kind of show what they are and how they can be useful and how you might be able to use them to get marketing ideas. So the first one is the year-over-year transactions. And this is a great report because it shows you how your race is doing from one year compared to the next, and it breaks it down over a timeline of the year. It really gives you a good insight into understanding when registrations occur for your race. There's a couple of different uses for this. The first is you can catch an anomaly. So if your race normally has a lot of registrations in April, but this year you're kind of running behind, or you had a spike in April, you'd be able to see that this year April is doing better than last year. Why is that? Or this year April is doing worse than last year. And you can figure out, did you do some kind of a marketing, or is there something else going on as to why you had improved or underperforming month. Some other cool ways you can use this report is you can, in this example, try and come up with a few different marketing ideas. So you could use this and say, in May is when most of my registrations happen. So if I want to try and entice people to sign up, May is a good month for me to send out an email to my previous participants and to ask them to sign up. You could also take a look at this report and say, well, whether the race hasn't been renewed early enough, or if I'm just not doing any marketing efforts, I might say, that August to December timeframe, there are no registrations. So maybe my marketing idea might be that I want to renew the race early, get registration open, and try and come up with some ways that I might be able to reach out and get people registering at different times. So, for example, if my race is a nice 5K, like a no-frills race, which is very popular for the turkey trots, maybe I do a promotion right after the turkey trots in November and try and get people that are really excited about having just done a 5K to sign up and do like an early bird special and capitalize on that. So it really just kind of gives you some insight into when those registrations are happening, which you can then kind of be creative and come up with different ways to target and market your race using that information. The next graph is the loyalty report. So this one's one of my favorites. It gives you a couple of different pieces of information. The first is on the right-hand side, you'll see a new versus returning participant count. There's a couple of different ways you can group participants for this. By default, we match participants on first name, last name, and date of birth. So if somebody changes their email address or something like that, or if they register with a different account, as long as they're in with the same first name, last name, date of birth, we'll be able to match them as a repeat participant. So this will give you information as far as, like I said, new versus returning users. But we'll also let you know how many people have run in your race for multiple years. So in this report, it's showing that I've had 224 people have participated in the race for 2 years, 106 have participated for 3, and this kind of gives you a great sense of how many people come to your race year after year after year. And you can use this information in the loyalty report to design your own loyalty program, which you can then use RunSignUp system to create a loyalty program and either give people pre-registration. So if you've participated in this race for more than 3 years, you're allowed to register early and you get a discounted registration amount because we're trying to really get those repeat participants to come back. So when designing a loyalty program, as far as how many people you expect to sign up, to use those if you're giving out discounts, this report really gives you a lot of information so you can kind of get an expected idea of just how many of your participants have repeated from 1 year to the next. The next report is the coupon report. The coupon report gives you a breakdown of transactions that didn't use a coupon and transactions that did use a coupon, and gives you a comparison of those two. It also gives you the ROI of any coupons that had been used. So it'll give you the number of coupons that had been used. It'll determine the ROI of those coupons. So you're giving out a discount, but you're still collecting some registration information. You want to know how effective were those coupons, and was I giving away a lot of these coupons and not really getting a lot out of it, or was I using a coupon that was really effective in creating a positive return for me? So these graphs kind of give you that breakdown information. Can be useful for determining how effective your coupons are. Next set of reports are the demographics. So these are a breakdown of the demographics of your race's registrants. These are just a couple of examples. You can see there's registration by age group, the city that people registered by, what their gender is, and what state they lived in. This information gives you some great insight into how you might want to market your race. Whether you want to target a demographic or an age group that you are underperforming in. So in this example, you can see in the age group in the top left that people under the age of 30 are a little bit light in this race, and that almost 75% of the race is over the age of 30. So the race might take this information and decide that, well, let's create a marketing campaign and try and promote the race to younger people and try and get more younger participants. You might have a race that has a bigger male-female skew and decide that you really want to capitalize that women are most interested in your race, so you want to come up with some kind of a program to entice them to keep coming, or maybe you're trying to grow the male percentage of the race, and so you come up with some sort of a program to try and encourage the female participants to bring male participants along with them. So just by kind of understanding your race's demographics, who's there, and everything, it can help you come up with ideas for how to market and promote your race. The next graph is the participant heat map. So this is just one of my favorite reports. It's just a cool visualization. It shows you, based off of the participants' zip codes, where your participants are coming from. So this kind of gives you a quick bird's eye view. This is a race in New Jersey, and you can see that most of the race registrations come from the township that the race is hosted in, but there's a couple of other hot spots as well. There's one down in the Medford Lakes in the bottom right of the graph, and then there's a fair number of people that come from the Philadelphia area and make the trip over the bridge to the race. Again, this just gives you more information. So if you're trying to, for example, set up a Facebook ad and you want to determine where you should target or what kind of a zip code radius you should use, this lets you know that I need to make sure that if I create an ad and I'm running with a zip code radius, that I want to make sure that I'm including Philadelphia and this Medford Lakes in the bottom right, because if I create a Facebook ad and I only target a very small area around the town itself, I'm leaving extra registrations on the table by not including other popular areas that generate a lot of registrations. In addition to getting just this visualization, you can download the CSV, and that will download a list of all the zip codes and the number of people who registered from each zip code. So if you just want to get that information into a data format and not just this visualization, you can get that information as well. The next slide here shows registration information. The registration information shows you a breakdown of First, you can see giveaway options. So if you need to get a report showing how many people selected what T-shirt size, obviously we have that information. It's displayed in this nice graphical format, so you can see that. There's other information here as well, such as if you ask a question during the race registration process, you can get a graphical breakdown of responses to that question. So in this example here, the race was asking, how did you hear about the event? And they're getting a nice breakdown showing what people's responses were. And I particularly like this one because it shows a really great insight here. You can see the one thing here is the red, and it's a radio. So one person responded that they heard from the radio. Now, if this is just sort of they heard a spot and the race has just kind of got a free spot on the radio, great, that's fine. But if the race is spending marketing dollars or their time on creating this ad spot and putting it on the radio, this kind of information lets you know, well, we only got one registration from this radio broadcast that we did, and we spent X dollars, or it took us this amount of time to set this deal up and everything. You know, it's probably better if we spend that time and marketing dollars on a different task. So again, this is the kind of information that you can use to make sure that you are accurately spending your marketing dollars where it makes the most sense. The bottom of the graph and the bottom right of the graph are some other registration reports. So these reports are showing, which registration periods were the most popular. So if I set up 3 different registration periods with price increases, and I want a quick visualization of which of those periods are the most popular or have generated the most registrations, this gives me that breakdown so I can understand that maybe my early bird pricing just didn't generate a lot of registrations. So if I want to really increase that registration period, maybe I need to make the early bird pricing a bigger discount. Or maybe there's a price increase and there's a big drop-off after that for the next registration period, and then I can look at that and say, well, there was a really big drop-off in registrations at this price increase. Maybe we increased the price too much. Maybe it increased too quickly, or that the price point is just too high, and once we get there, people aren't as interested in registering, so maybe we need to kind of keep that price point down. So this really gives you that information as far as which registration periods are the most effective. And then those 2 graphs on the right-hand side show some other information as far as the day of the week and the time of day that these registrations are occurring. This example, you can see the day of the week is pretty level, but depending on your type of race, you might be able to notice some trends and say that most of my registrations are occurring on Monday and Tuesday, or most of my registrations are occurring on Friday and Saturday. And they're occurring between 8 and noon in the morning. That's when people are kind of waking up, getting their computers, checking their email, and they decide to go and register for the race. So if you have this information, if you're doing something like scheduling a Facebook ad, you can set up a Facebook ad so that it runs continually, but you can also set up a Facebook ad in such a way that it only runs during specified times. So if I know that most of my registrations are occurring within a specific time window or a specific day of the week, I can go and create a Facebook ad and schedule that ad to run around or just in front of those times that are popular for registration. So I'm trying to get the most out of my ad by running it at a popular time versus just kind of leaving it going, and it might be showing to people when I know that they're really just, the average person isn't as interested in registering. The next slide talks about our email analytics. So any email that is sent through the RunSignUp system that is pointing to RunSignUp is automatically tagged with our new tracking system. What this allows us to do is to track the number of page views and the number of registrations and transaction dollars that are tied to every registration. So if you send out an email yourself, so you send out what's called a manual email where you go in, you schedule it, and send it out, you'll get a breakdown telling you how many people received the email, how many page views it generated, and how many registrations it did. So you can kind of get a sense of how effective your different emails were, whether your email was trying to drive registration or if you were sending out just race information and you're trying to get people to go and view the website to try and boost your sponsor page views or sponsor clicks. You might have different goals with each email, so this will give you a nice report that tells you the email that was sent, how many page views and the registrations. On the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see the automated emails report. Rather than sort of giving you the stats of every automated email that goes out, because we can send out a lot of them, we roll them up into the type of automated email that is being sent. So you'll get, there'll be a couple of popular ones here. The first one is the price increase emails, which is where you're going to see the big spikes in this graph, where those emails went out and everybody who was a previous participant got a notification saying that there was a price increase, they should sign up. Everyone who was already registered gets an email telling them, hey, there's about to be a price increase, you should go and tell your friends if they want to sign up and run with you. The second one there is the incomplete registration emails, which is RunSignUp's automated system, sort of the abandoned cart follow-up, where somebody starts a registration process but doesn't finish it. You can set up an email that will automatically go out to them after a certain amount of time and invite them to come back. You can customize that email, use the RunSignUp default, maybe put in a coupon code if you're trying to really entice people that it's been a couple of days and they haven't come back. And this report will kind of give you the breakdown of the effectiveness of those emails. So in this report, you see about 150 incomplete registration emails that went out. About 11 people actually came back and registered through clicking the links in those emails specifically. And so you see about an 8 or 9% of the people that had abandoned their registration pack came back and completed a registration after getting that follow-up. So these kind of things, letting you know how effective your campaigns are and letting you know how effective the automated system of the RunSignUp emails are. What's next? What's coming down the pipeline for RaceInsights? There's 3 things I want to talk about here. The first is custom tracking links. So I mentioned earlier, when an email is sent out through the RunSignUp system, it's automatically tagged with tracking parameters so that RaceInsights can collect information and track that visitor and correctly attribute their registrations to that email. What we're going to be providing is the ability for a race director to create their own tracked link. So you can create a link of your own. We'll give you a link to your race that has the RunSignUp tracking parameters on it, and then you can use that link in your other marketing sources. So if you create a Facebook ad and you want to use this link in your Facebook ad, or if you send out your own email, not through the RunSignUp email system, and you want to track how effective that email is. There's other examples, like if you have a referral program and you have a blogger who writes about your race, and you want to track how many people came through that blogger's race, you can give them this custom tracking link. And essentially what it will do is, instead of saying that the person came from Google or a direct visit or from Facebook, we'll be able to attribute it to that specific custom link that we gave you, and in your reports it will show up with whatever label you gave that link. So this will allow you to create your own tracking and to use those links and take advantage of the RaceInsights system to do that. The next thing is going to be a breakdown of RunSignUp traffic sources. So the RunSignUp traffic sources, we actually, when your race is included on RunSignUp, there's a number of ways that your race is sort of out on the web already. So we have calendars out there, so partners may show a bunch of races in their area. Your race can show up on that list. We have affiliate websites, people who basically query RunSignUp and say, hey, give us a list of your races. We want to list and promote those races on our website. So just by being on RunSignUp, you're actually included in all of those affiliate and marketing programs. Just one quick mention, if you don't want to be included in those programs, you can set your race to private and you won't show up in those lists. But for most races that are trying to grow their race and registration numbers, being automatically included in these affiliate networks and race calendars is a great way to help drive some extra registrations. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a better job of tracking registrations that come from those affiliate networks, come from those race calendars, or other RunSignUp systems such as the registration referral program. And we're going to be able to give you breakdown of those sources in these reports. So you'll be able to see, registrations that RunSignUp specifically is going to be generating for your race. The last note on this is that we're going to be building out what's called cross-domain tracking support. So if anybody's worked with Google Analytics or some web tracking systems, cross-domain tracking is a fairly common issue that you run into. Essentially, if somebody comes to your website and then they come to RunSignUp and register, right now RaceInsights is going to attribute that registration to coming from your website. So it came from your website before they came to RunSignUp. So your website gets the credit for that registration. Now, as a marketer, knowing that they came from your website isn't the most helpful information. You need to know how they got to your website and then how they came to RunSignUp. So what this cross-domain tracking support we're going to be releasing is we'll basically, instead of RaceInsights just living on RunSignUp, you'll be able to take a piece of code similar to the widgets that are available on RunSignUp, put it on your website, and that should expand the RaceInsights to include your website. So if somebody does a Google search, comes to your website, and then goes to RunSignUp for registration, we want to make sure that Google is getting the credit for that. And that's sort of what that cross-domain tracking support is going to be doing. In addition to RaceInsights, we support a few other external analytics programs. We have pretty extensive support for Google Analytics. We support e-commerce transactions, and as I previously mentioned, the cross-domain tracking, we do support that for Google Analytics. So if anybody is an extensive Google Analytics user, make sure that you have e-commerce transactions turned on in your Google Analytics profile. That is something that is not turned on by default, so you would have to go in and turn that on. Also, if inside of your Google Analytics you're seeing a lot of your own domain pop up for referral sources, you want to talk to us about getting cross-domain tracking set up so we can more accurately source your registrations. A couple of other things here. We have the Facebook pixel, so if you're doing a lot of Facebook advertising, you can give us your Facebook pixel. We'll include it on all of the pages. We support standard events and dynamic checkout, so instead of just firing back a fixed amount, a registration is worth $25 to Facebook every time somebody completes the registration. What we'll do is we'll actually look at the dollar amount in the cart and we'll say this person signed up 4 people and it's actually worth $100, not just $25, and we'll report that to Facebook. And getting that sort of dynamic checkout values makes your reporting more effective because you can see if some advertisements or marketing strategies are better at getting groups or families to sign up versus others might be more effective at getting individuals. The last piece that we support is some additional site-wide and conversion tracking codes. These are available under the Promotions tab on your Race dashboard. These support things like ad roll and some other marketing campaigns and conversion code tracking. So that's it for the webinar. We're going to go to questions right now. And the first question is, where on the RunSignUp dashboard and site can you access these report screens? You can actually access them from your Race's dashboard. So when you first hit your Race's dashboard, you're going to see that new web analytics graph right up at the top. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a drop-down. It will start by saying Overview. You can click on that drop-down and you can switch that to show transactions, demographics, information, and all of those reports that I showed are available from that Race's dashboard's homepage. The only exception to that is the email analytic reports. Those reports are showing up under the email marketing tab under the email reports. So the next question was, when using custom tracking links, we'll see the traffic and conversions. And even if not using the RunSignUp website, using your own website with an embedded registration widget. So there's a couple of quick points on that. So first, yes, you would see traffic and conversions. The second piece of that is if you're not using the RunSignUp website and you're only using the embedded registration widget, you're going to, for now, run into that cross-domain tracking issue that I was talking about where it would look like they came from your website. Once we add that cross-domain tracking support, in addition to putting the widget on your website, you would put the code snippet onto your site that supports the RaceInsights tracking, and you would then be able to use that with having a registration widget on your website and still have everything working. The next question is, where do we publish races? We mentioned calendars and affiliate websites. We don't necessarily publish them ourselves. They are available through the open API in our database. So you might have a partner or somebody create a calendar widget on your on a site, and your race could be included if they're showing races within a certain zip code area. We said there's different affiliate programs out there, like Running in the USA, that connect with this information, and they can kind of show it out on the web. Since this is sort of an open API, there's a lot of calendars out there. I don't have a specific list of websites that your races would be published to. But again, if you didn't want to be included in that program, you can just mark it as private. But generally speaking, these are affiliates and marketing calendars who are trying to drive some additional races through affiliate revenue. Next question was if we could do a quick walkthrough of where some of this information was. I did mention where it was on the dashboard, but I can actually pop over and do a quick walkthrough of where this information is on your races dashboard. So give me just a second to pull that up. So on your races dashboard, I mentioned this is your nice new graph that shows defaults to the web analytics. Up here in the top left, you have this overview dropdown. If you click on this, you'll have a breakdown of the different places you can go. So I can select demographics, and it's going to then load a demographics report of registration by age group. I can select any of these kinds of demographics if I wanted to switch over to registrations by city. I can select what year I want to look at. So this race has been renewed for 2018, so there's only a handful, 5 registrations so far. I can toggle back to last year's report, and I'll get a full report of everyone who registered for the race last year. And then in addition to a specific year, I can drill down into an event. So if I only am curious about the registrations by city for the 8K, I can go ahead and do that. And now I'm only looking at registrations for the 8K by city. All of these reports are here, so if you want to go into the promotions tab, again, you'll see the loyalty program and different those. But most of these reports are available right from this dashboard. If you do want to see some of the email marketing reports, you would go to the email marketing tab, then email reports, and you have manual email analytics and the automated email analytics. And that will show the emails for ones that you have sent and for the automated email system within RunSignUp. So the next question is, what are some of the biggest calendars and affiliates that you're partnered with, and anywhere to see a list so we don't waste time going to them and setting up our races on them. So again, I mentioned we don't have a specific list of everyone who is in the affiliate program or race calendars that might show up, but the important thing to note is that this is done automatically. So if your race is on RunSignUp, you don't have to go to, say, Running the USA and list your race on that website. What Running the USA is doing is it's basically asking RunSignUp, hey, what races do you have of this distance in this zip code? They're collecting that information and then putting it on their website. So if you're on RunSignUp and your race is not set to private, you're automatically being included in this affiliate network and outbound calendars. There's nothing that you have to do to go out and specifically get listed on them. It should be done automatically. Next question is integration support for other email systems. The way that you would use other email systems will be once the custom tracking links are supported, you could then use those custom links in whatever email system you wanted to use. So if you were sending out an email from IBM Watson and you wanted to make sure that that email was tracked, you would just create a custom link using that tool. Again, that's a little bit down the road, but it should be relatively soon, where you're creating a custom tracking link. I take that link, I put it in the email, and then we're tracking all of the clicks to that email onto that custom link. So that would allow you to use sort of an external system. This would work, again, in an email system. It would work if you're doing Facebook advertisements, anything like that. So these custom links would really allow you to track basically any web link out there. The next question is, where is the screen to see abandoned registration people? One of my favorite things is this little search bar on the top left. So if you type in words, it will start to match different things in the navigation here. It's a fun little trick. And you can go to this reports and then not registered and incomplete registrations. So that would show up under reports, not registered, incomplete registrations. And this will give you a list of people who had started the registration process but had not finished it. The automated email system will pull from that list that you just saw, and it will send out emails. It will only send out one email to any specific email address. So if 3 people from one email address started registering, they won't get 3 follow-up emails. We sort of do a little smart deduplication on that, and we'll only send out 1 copy. The next question is, does the dropout or abandoned cart analytics tell us what page they dropped out on? We do not have that yet, but that is part of the plan of one of the features we want to build into the RaceInsights platform. Right now, we just know that they started the registration process and that they did not complete it. It's a little tricky because a lot of races have different steps in it, so you may or may not be accepting donations, have store purchases, do add-ons, and things like that. So since every registration path can be a little different, that sort of dropout analysis is a little tough. But again, it is something we're planning on adding to the Insight system down the road. The next question is, when will the cross-domain tracking be available? I can't say specifically when that is. It is on the development path and should be in the next couple of months, but I can't commit to a specific release date. Well, the next question was, are triathlons automatically listed on these sites as well? It depends on the website. So if the website is hosting triathlons, they will probably be shown on that website. When querying sort of the RunSignUp system for a race, you can ask for races of a specific type. So if there's an affiliate program or something like that and they're only showing running races, they're going to set the type of query to RunSignUp, say, only show me running races, don't show me triathlons. In that case, you're not going to show up on one of those affiliate sites because they're specifically marketing running races. If there's a triathlon website out there that is pulling information from RunSignUp and they're specifically including triathlons, or they're saying, give me all races, I don't care what type it is, then you would be showing up on those as well. The next question is, do incomplete registrations show people who came back and registered later on the same email but a different device? Answer is no. So if somebody starts registering on one device, comes back and registers on a different device, they will be counted as registered. They will not get a follow-up email to the same email address. Essentially what we do, we have a check when sending out an incomplete registration email. We check to make sure if any registrations have been completed attached to that email address. And if so, we don't send the email, we pull it out from the incomplete report. Next question is, can we download Insights? And I don't think you can right now, but that is a great suggestion, and that's something that we can probably add fairly easy. So I'll make a note of downloadable reports. Next question is, can the analytics track donations as well? Right now we're showing the breakdown of just transaction dollars, so what we're actually showing is the total transaction. So if somebody registers and makes a donation, it shows up as both. If they make a standalone donation, we should be tracking that as well. As the system kind of becomes more advanced, we're going to give you more breakdowns, and we'll give you specifically registration dollars versus donation dollars. But right now it is just sort of one bucket of transaction dollars. And that looks like all of the questions that we had today. I want to thank you all for attending and hope you enjoyed. Thanks.